Hi, this is Eddie Hearn, and you're watching Lights Out.
I feel like Terence Crawford wins the fight. I think that, two unbelievable fighters. I mean, obviously Errol is in camp with AJ. Apparently he's looking unbelievable. I just feel like Errol's been making 147 for a long time. I think he's got a little bit more wear and tear, whether that's the car crash, whether that's the retina tear, whether that's a few tougher fights. I think if the fight is boxed at a fast pace, I think Terence Crawford could stop him, if not on points, but in a very close fight, I pick Terence Crawford.
It's a tough fight to pick, to be honest. It's a great fight, and it's a fight I've wanted to see for a long time, and I've changed my opinion over the years. I used to favour Spence. I think the time out the ring, and he's a big welterweight anyway, Spence, so not making the weight for that long, I think the weight might hurt him getting there. I think at welterweight, I think Crawford probably beats him, but I won't be surprised either way. I'm just glad it's happening as a boxing fan, which we all are at the end of the day. It's probably the best fight to make in boxing at the minute, and it's, the 29th, not long to go, so it's exciting as a boxing fan to watch it, but I think at the minute I'm probably slightly leaning towards Crawford.
I just think, I think Terence Crawford wins that. I just think he's the better of the two, he's like, they're both spiteful, but he's strong. He has a switch stance, he breaks you down, really, when I compare them both, and I look at, Terence Crawford's been undisputed. He's fought so many champions, obviously on his way up as well, and now also in welterweight. He's fought, look at him when he fought him versus Sean Porter versus Spence. Sean Porter, look what the difference, there's a stoppage. Same with Cole Brook, you know what I mean? He's done it earlier, proper knockouts, all these kind of things. I just think that strength and that spitefulness and the way he has his timing and all that kind of stuff, I just think he's just that bit better than Errol Spence. And I think also with all the time out, with Errol Spence, he had so much time out in the car accident, I think that could play a role as well. So.
Look, you've got two top operators, two of the best fighters in any weight division in boxing going against each other. I'll go for Crawford, because I probably would have gone for Crawford anyway, even before the car accident and everything. And I know he's bounced back since then, Spence, but it's got to have knocked a bit out of him, And like I say, even if that hadn't happened, I think I still would have leaned to Crawford, because we're talking absolute splitting hairs, fine margins, because they're both top. But I just think Crawford just might have that little bit extra.
But look, I'm upset that it's happening now, but I'm happy it's happening now. I think it's overdue, but in fairness to them, good for them to be able to put this together. I don't know who's going to win. I really don't. I think going into Tank Garcia, I think I was pretty comfortable that it was going to be Tank, right? This fight's a hell of a lot closer, obviously. These guys are absolutely champions on their own right. This is what an undisputed fight is. Certainly the number one and the number two in this area, in this division. I don't know. I love Terence Crawford. I would probably lean towards Crawford, but ever so slightly. You flip a coin, in my opinion.
It's a fantastic fight. You've got two of the best fighters in the world right now. I personally look at Spence's inactivity, and I think that could be a problem. I hope it don't, because Spence right now is my favourite fighter, but I love watching Bud Crawford as well. Hopefully it's going to be a fantastic fight. Could we perhaps be looking at maybe a rematch in a trilogy if the first fight lives up to the expectations?
No, I'm sure. Whenever you have these big fights like that, I feel like rematches are always going to be talked about and considered, so it wouldn't surprise me at all. But yeah, I'm pumped.
I'm just seeing Crawford. I think he's more versatile. He's been in more of a. They've both been in massive fights. I just think he's probably lived the life a little bit more outside the ring. So I'll probably score Crawford.
Listen, obviously both of them can. They're both class acts. They're both really, really top fighters. And I'm a fan of both. I think both beat the rest of the division on any other night. I think it's just when they're coming up against each other. Initially, when it was first talked about, when Crawford first moved up, I thought Spence might be a bit big, bit too work too hard and stuff. But as fights have gone on and Crawford's become a more fully fledged welterweight, I think sway towards Crawford. I just think he's just got that X factor where he can pull it out against all styles. He can adapt himself mid-fight, and he's carrying a bit of pop now welter as well. So I think I sway towards Crawford to win, late possibly points.
You know, I can remember watching Spence years and years ago on a Thursday night show in Vegas. I forgot what Mayweather fight it was at, and there was a lot of, you know, talk about him then. He was a prospect then, and I can remember watching him. I think it was against Juan Diaz. So, I can't remember. It was against a Latin kid, and he didn't really impress me up close when I seen him. He was very fundamentally solid. Bit of a winky right type of style going on, you know, sort of nice tight guard, good jab, done the fundamentals fantastic, and he boxed well, but not one where it really went, wow, he's going to be a superstar and this, that and the other. And I still think that way now. I think he's a fantastic fighter, good athlete, he's got a good team behind him, and I think he's fundamentally solid, strong, come forward. On the other hand, you've got, you know, the first time I laid eyes on Terence Crawford was the Ricky Burns fight. And he sort of come in of an underdog, and I was like, wow, this kid's shit hot, and ever since that he's just got better and better and better. I think he's got a lot more tools in his box than Spence, but you know what, solid fundamentals and things which Spence has got, they take it a long way, which is proven, and it's a 50-50 fight. If I was to bet my house on it, you know, I'd go with Crawford. But look, things happen, fights happen in boxing. It's who shows up on the night. The small percentages for me are going to count in this, down to the preparation, down to how you've been firing in the gym, and at that elite level, them where it's that evenly matched, it's them little tiny percentages that get you the win. So, but look, the safe man's bet in my thing is I'd go with Crawford, yeah.
We'll be calling for this fight for a couple of years at least now, 2-3 years. I think the freshness of Errol Spence is going to be the thing that pays off. I like Terence Crawford. I don't know much about these guys, but I know how great they are and they're the top of their game. I think Crawford's 35 now, 36, so I think I'm going to go with the freshness of Errol Spence.
Terence Crawford, tell him why.
Terence Crawford, he's smart, you know, he can do everything, counter punch, come forwards. I think he's just got a bit too much for Errol Spence. He's got that smarts, and I think he'll get to him and might stop him late.
And Spence, you don't see Spence beating Terence Crawford, Mark?
No, listen, I saw Terence Crawford. Listen, I'm not up to date with Spence, but I watched Terence Crawford in his gym, in a little old gym in Nebraska, around Nebraska area, deep, warm and humid, old shed it was, lovely little kids out. I watched him about 4 years ago train, and then I watched him fight in Lincoln. Like him, but I can't keep my eye on everything, man. I've got my own life, I've got my own camp, you know, I don't watch everyone. I'd like to, if I'm involved and I've got to watch the enemy, then I'll watch him. But listen, I know he's a very sharp shooter and one of our pound for pound, and I'm backing Terence Crawford.
Oh, it's an amazing fight. It's a genuine 50-50, but for me, I've always said Terence Crawford. There's something about him. I love the spitefulness about his work. It's both are fantastic. I'm a little bit concerned, you know, about the after effects of the car crash with Spence as well. That's got to have taken something out of him. He's shown he's made a great comeback, but for me, I just believe Crawford's maybe that little bit better and got that little bit more left. So I'll go Crawford, but it's a fair 50-50.
I would slightly favour Terence Crawford in this fight because I think Terence Crawford can do more than Errol Spence. But there's something about the size of Errol Spence and the fact that Errol Spence has very, very good boxing skills that don't get highlighted. He has very good. You don't believe he's got very good. He's got a very good boxing brain as well. He's got a very good IQ. And if we look at the things that Errol Spence does, I will keep on saying about who can absorb information, then compute it, then put it into action. And the person that does that quicker, who downloads information quicker, it's Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford downloads information very quickly, and then he administers what he's downloaded in the same round, right? So these are the things why I would say, like, I could kindly favor Terence Crawford, but you never know because it's a great fight. And not only that, Errol Spence is about that. He's crud. He's about that. So as much as we're looking and saying, "Oh, I would favor," most people would favor Terence Crawford, I've seen Terence Crawford hurt. And one thing I do know is that Errol Spence is very big and very strong. So it is an actual pick and fight, and it's who you like better. So I'm not too rightly sure. But originally when this fight was first muted years and years and years ago, I was obviously saying that's my kids in the background here, right? I was obviously favoring, I was obviously favoring Terence Crawford. So I think maybe, but I'll be happy to be proven wrong by Errol Spence.
Yes, my prediction for Spence Crawford on 29th of July, I've got Crawford, close decision. I think Crawford's just got too much to his game. Yes, Spence is bigger, stronger, but Crawford's also strong. He can box both ways. He can box going backwards, going forward, side to side. He's just got a lot more in his arsenal compared to Spence. So I got Crawford close decision victory on the 29th of July.
My predictions on the Errol Spence and Crawford fight is I'm rocking with the big fish Errol Spence. I think he's the bigger guy. I think he's physically stronger. You know what I'm saying? I think his work rate will overwhelm someone like Crawford. I'm not saying that Crawford can't make the adjustments because he's done that in a lot of fights, and he is a true champion as well, and he's achieved great things. But I think Spence will take it from round one. I think he'll take the fight to him straight away from round one. It will be a chess match as well. Like, there will be a lot of skill involved. They'll both bring the best out of each other. And like I said, Crawford can make the adjustments and he could counter Spence. You know what I'm saying? Spence has been caught, but I think Spence's work rate and the way he's been, his mindset has been for this fight, like, they both look incredible. But I think something about Spence, I think he'll have that fire in him to keep pushing on till round 12, and I think he will overwhelm him. But I don't think it's going to be a stoppage. I think he will go the full 12 rounds.